I'm going to tell you something. I don't mean anything derogatory or anything personally against you, but if you're going to play lumberjack, go out and debate on behalf of the flat earth, and you don't know these basic arguments or the scientific method, my suggestion is not to do it.
Oh my God, I agree with John.
Yeah, I third that. So,
okay, so I should learn about the scientific method.
Okay, well that's absolutely true, and I'm glad you've got
fine.
You've got that resource. But yeah, I would agree. To use quantum eraser's analogy, to go out with a vague understanding of these concepts, my opening gambit being understand natural law and actual science. Well, that's precisely what we're talking about here. But just so you've got the bare bones to go away from, when we say understand actual science, we mean understand that the application of the scientific method is to establish cause and effect based on an observed phenomenon that has an independent variable, a presumed cause of the effect, the dependent variable, phenomena observed at step 1. The formulation of what I have just described would be a scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis. So to give you the 2 steps thus far, we've got observe a natural phenomena, followed by formulation of a hypothesis, which would also include a null, giving you the empiricism the scientific method offers. The null being the antithesis of your prediction. If A, your independent variable, presumed cause of the effect, then B, the observed phenomena observed at stage 1, the null will be if A, not B. If you vary your presumed cause, it does not cause the effect. So you have a scientific prediction which has a positive assertion, guess, if you will, what you presume causes the effect you observed, and what will happen if you get it wrong, the null hypothesis. Now, this is all for nothing if it's not backed by systematic experimentation, the validation of the hypothesis, the actualization of your hypothesis, otherwise known as experimentation. So upon validity being given to your prediction, you then have a valid hypothesis or confirmed cause of an effect. Once you have multiple verified hypotheses, you can formulate what is known as a scientific theory. Now, the understanding of all of those details, convoluted and complex though it may seem to a newbie, is to understand that when somebody in this argument would assert that Einstein has a theory, you can say, for example, what was the experiment that preceded his theory, only to discover very quickly that it's a colloquial theory and no scientific validity is in Einstein's thought experiments. But it's the understanding of what the scientific method is and where you get scientific theories from that would be able to enable you to defeat an opponent when they assert nonsense like pseudo-Riemannian force space, bending of space-time, gravity, Cavendish experiment, because they'll drop these words in. And knowing what that method is means you can unpack somebody's false assertion that they have an experiment to back a bullshit claim of something like gravity. So it's not an easy chainsaw to wield, although it may seem so when you just hear the odd phrase like, what's your independent variable? And then, no offence, I know he's on the panel, but you'll hear someone like Spurs in a different debate asking somebody who hasn't made a claim that involves anything that would even require science for their independent variable, because they haven't necessarily grasped the full premise of what science is. Further to that, you've then got something to convolute the waters even further, called scientific law, inaccurately, because it hasn't gone through the scientific method, more accurately described as natural law. So all of these confusing paths are intentional, and they've been created by our pseudoscience opponents. So understanding, to conclude, and where I started, both natural law, otherwise known as scientific law, and the scientific method, otherwise known as cause and effect reasoning, validated by systematic experimentation, you're not going to get far when someone inappropriately or otherwise deems something scientific when it isn't, if you don't know what is. Hope that helps.